What is up? This is your LA in a minute, and you know these raised humps on lanes and roads and freeways that warn drivers when they're drifting out of their lane? Well, they have a name. They're called bot stops. They're also one of the most important innovations in traffic safety in the last century of driving. And guess what else? They're invented right here in Los Angeles. Let's get into it. As freeways and highways became the arteries and veins of transportation in Los Angeles and California, in 1965, Caltrans implemented bot stops every 48 feet as an effort to effectively stripe lanes. Paint was ineffective, especially in certain types of weather, so driving at 60 miles an hour, drivers could expect to feel the 2 bumps per second going over the marker with the bot dots in place. The dots were named after Albert Dysart Botts, a Caltrans engineer credited in the 1950s with the research that led to their creation, and they eventually spread from California throughout the nation and the world. Caltrans engineers had studied the concept of raised dots as early as 1936, but it wasn't until 1953 that the research began in earnest because of the alarming number of cars and car accidents in California. Now, the initial bot dots were made out of glass and were attached to the road by nails or tacks, but that was soon abandoned as the team discovered that when the dots popped loose under stress, the nails would puncture tires. Soon, an epoxy resin raised reflective marker was used instead of glass, and that's the one that Caltrans adopted universally. Now, unfortunately, Botts himself passed away in 1962, but in 1966, the California State Legislature mandated that Botts dots are used for lane markings on all state highways and in non-snowfall areas. One powerful side benefit that saved many lives over the years is the fact that drowsy drivers can snap awake whenever they feel the bumps on the road from these Botts dots. And they became so effective that at one point there were over 30 million of these on roads in California alone. Now, the life expectancy of a bot dot is 10 years, so they need to be replaced fairly often. And in recent years, Caltrans has opted for other methods of separating lanes and notifying drowsy drivers. That said, the bot dots are being used in creative and new ways recently, including on the 6th Street Viaduct to separate both sides of oncoming traffic, as well as another new lease on life by being placed in certain areas to prevent street takeovers. It's estimated that more than 500 million bot dots have been installed worldwide, and the way they're installed is pretty much by hand. There's a bucket truck with a bucket riding over the intended targets, and an employee deploys an electric gun to apply a 400-degree adhesive before applying the dot manually. So these little humps have saved countless lives over the last century, and they were invented right here in Los Angeles. That's bot dots. All right, LA, it's been a minute.